Greetings everyone, this is Squall Snake and I write a ton of stuff for the website mygamer.com and on my personal blog at squallsnake.com, and today I'm going to be demonstrating all the Game Boy Advance models that are out there. Recently just acquired the final Game Boy Advance model in my collection, and I wanted to make a video to go over the positives and negatives, the pros and the cons of every single Game Boy Advance type system out there, in case you are a collector or did want to get into playing the GBA, because it's such an awesome system. There's so many great games for it, and it is backwards compatible, and I'll go over all that in a minute. So here with me, I have all the main ways to play Game Boy Advance games. So to start it off, this is the original model GBA here. As you can see, it's horizontal design, and unlike the clamshell designs of the SP models, which I'll talk about in a second. So this unit here, even today, still feels really good in your hands. It's nice and wide. It's obviously the horizontal design. It has the D-pad and then the start and select buttons. I guess the only thing I don't like about it is the start and select buttons are a little close together. They're a little small, but not a big deal since you're not going to be using those buttons a whole lot. Obviously you got A and B, and then you have the shoulder buttons at the top. What I like about these shoulder buttons is they're wide and they got a little bit of a click to them, if you can hear that. And obviously you have your single speaker on the bottom of the console. This is where your headphones would go in to get stereo sound. This adjusts the volume level right here with the volume slider, and then you have your on-off button here. If you look at the back of the console, have your slot for 2 AA batteries. Still get a lot of battery life on it, which is why the GBA was such a great seller. And if you notice here, this is the AGB001 model. This is the very first model. Why is that so important? I'm going to go over that in a second. And then obviously you have your cartridge slot at the top. Now, Game Boy Advance, the original model, will play original Game Boy games, Game Boy Color, and Game Boy Advance games. Let's turn this thing on just so you can see kind of what the screen looks like. Now, this is not a backlit screen, which was the biggest downside of the very first model. I'm holding it here at an angle so the camera can pick this up. And right here I have Choo Choo Rocket, which is a great sleeper hit game. This game was on Game Boy Advance. But you can kind of see if you hit it with the right light angle, okay, it's playable. If you had a nice light coming from the top of the unit down, you know, maybe you're sitting under a lamp or something, that's when you're going to get the best results out of the Game Boy Advance original model here. So let's see if I can just play this just so you can kind of see. Anyway, this is hard to play when you're making a video looking through the camera. But anyway, as you can see, here is the Game Boy Advance original model. Still sounds pretty good. It's got a battery problem because this thing is so old, and my battery isn't fully charged. But what's cool about this model is there was all sorts of attachments. This is a worm light made by Nyko Mad Cats. Yeah, this is a Nyko model. There's a million of these things, all different types and sizes. What I like about this unit is it has a port on the back, so you can actually still use your link cable. So at the top of the system, this is your link cable port right here. So if you wanted to play multiplayer games, everything your link cable, which I have one right over here, would plug in. Okay, and then you'd plug the other side in to another Game Boy and you could play multiplayer games. But what Nyko did and Mad Cats did is they made these worm light attachments where you can push them in, and if I turn this on, you get one LED light now that shines on the screen, as you can see. And I'll try to pick this up with the camera, but you can see the reflection of the light. You can see my finger there, you can see it. And this helped a lot. So this actually made playing in the dark actually possible. So if you can get the original model with the worm light, preferably one with the link cable right here, the link cable pass through, that's going to be the way to go. But as you can see, the screen, you know, not so great. Okay, I mean, again, you could still see it, especially with the worm light, it is a little bit better, but not the best. Okay, and so this is the original model Game Boy. Let's put this off to the side. Now, next is this guy, the Game Boy Advance SP. So let's go over the shape and style first. So unlike the horizontal design, this is a much smaller form factor. Okay, obviously it folds, and there's a nice click when you fold it open and closed. And here's your volume on the left side. You have your power on off switch on the right side, your A and B buttons, your start and select, nice bigger on the bottom here, easier to get to, and then you have your one still single speaker in the middle. And this is the light button for the front light, and then the cartridge slot, which is on now the bottom of the console. Here I have X versus Sever in here. And the big thing to note about this particular unit, let me see if I can zoom in a little. This is the AGS 001 model. This means this is the original model of the GBA SP in comparison to this one, which I'll talk about in a second. Now this unit has very small shoulder buttons. You got L and R, and they're just kind of nubs, especially in comparison to the original model here. It's fine, it's okay, but I still like the bigger form factor and the clicky version of the original model here. So let's boot this guy up and see what happens in terms of screen clarity and color. So as you can see, there is this light button here at the top. Okay. And now it's off. So I'm going to hit the, now it's off. I'm going to hit the on button. And you can see, well, that was a bad time because I have the BAM Entertainment. Let's get to the front screen. This will make more sense. X versus Sever, by the way, one of the few first-person shooters that are on the GBA. You want English. Okay, so as you can see, it's very difficult to see. And then you turn on the light, bam, you can see a lot more. So here's off, on. Okay, let's get into maybe a game. Single player. Again, it's still, the video maybe isn't picking it up so great, but this was revolutionary at the time. This was still way better than this. Now the difference here, this is a front lit screen, okay? Unlike the AGS 101 model, which is a true backlit screen. So since this is front lit, it's still not the best. It's still not the greatest. I mean, it works. You could still see what's going on, but it kind of washes out the colors. There was actually several GBA games that actually had a color setting in them depending on the system that you played. The original model SP and even the Game Boy player, which is the GameCube attachment. So as you can see here, it's okay, it's fine, you can still see. Here's off, which is pretty terrible, which is going to be basically just like the original model here, or you can turn it on again, and it makes a big difference. So obviously having it on will affect the battery life, but it's still a really good battery life here with the GBA SP model. So if you, one other thing I wanted to talk about, if you close it, it's still, the game is still on. It doesn't necessarily go into sleep mode, which is unlike the the Nintendo DS version. But what I want to talk about here is actually the two ports that are on the top here. So this port is actually for power. So where's my plug? This guy, this actually plugs into this port, and then this would go into the wall. Okay, this is how it would charge the lithium battery. There are no AA batteries in the SP model. This is your link port. So you can still play your multiplayer games. Let's see if I can plug this in. So you can still play your multiplayer games. You see I actually get an LED on this particular link cable while still plugging it into the wall and getting power. Now I say this, why is this important? Because if you notice, the one thing that's missing on the SP model, there's no headphone jack. So unlike this unit, you can plug headphones, bam, right in the bottom. This unit, there is no headphone jack. That is a major downfall of the SP model. So what Nintendo did is they actually included with the system one of these guys. Now this is a third-party unit. I want to say this is also a Nyko option here, Nyko unit. But if you can see, the plug on this guy is actually going to attach right here. Oh, actually, you know what? So yeah, this is an attachment which is Nyko made. And this one has a pass-through, so you can still charge. And then you got this port here, which is for your headphones. But Nintendo, and I have it right here, Nintendo included this little doohickey. So if you ever see a used GBA SP, a lot of times it'll come with the charger. Maybe it won't come with the charger. You can buy those. But if it comes with this thing, that's actually pretty rare. And you know that the owner took care of it because this thing gets lost all the time. So this thing plugs right in there. And now you would plug your headphones into this guy and bam, there you go, stereo sound with your headphones. But you got to use this attachment or a third-party attachment like this, but you still free up your link cable. So that's the downside of the SP model. Now, let's move on to the GBA SP. This is the AGS, let's see if I can zoom in here, AGS 101, and compared to the AGS again 001. See the difference? So this was a few different colors. This is obviously the blue color versus the standard, I think they call this platinum. So here, I'm going to turn this on. It's the same exact system as this. So it's the same button layout and same, deal with the headphone jack and everything. The only difference here is the screen. And oop, something's wrong with, I have another copy of X vs. Sever, by the way, don't judge. Multiplayer game, let's see if that works. Okay. And this copy of the game doesn't work. So let's take out this one and put it in here because I know this one works. There we go. Let's turn up the volume. As you can see right off the bat, the screen is 100 times better than this unit here. So this screen actually uses the same technology as basically the Nintendo DS. This is the DS Lite. Let's do a side-by-side comparison. Start GBA game. Let's see, I'll boot these up. Oh. Okay, English. Volume down a little bit. Okay, let's see if I can get all three in here so you can see the difference. And the thing with this unit here, the GBA SP AGS 101 model, you can hit it again and you still even get a brighter screen. So it's really on or off with the GBA SP 101, AGS 101 model. So there's no off, like how you can turn it off completely here. So it's basically low and high. So you can see the low setting is even better than, the on setting here. And it's very similar to the DS, so if I can get a shot of all three again, the DSi model. So if you wanted to play your GBA games here on your DS Lite, you can. I think I said DSi, it's DS Lite. And then finally, this is the Gameboy Micro. The Gameboy Micro also has an awesome screen just like this, but it's smaller. Okay, while this is booting up real quick, the cool thing about the GBA playing on the DS model is you can close it, nice clamshell design, but no link cable support. So this also uses a unique charger. So this charger is different than the GBA SP charger, and the thing that charges the Game Boy Micro is also different. So these things all take their own different charger. It is not the same, and there's no multiplayer GBA functionality here on the DS, if you're using a DS Lite or the original DS model. So here in my micro, I also have a copy of X versus Sever. See if I can get to the front page or the gameplay so you can see a side-by-side difference. And so what's cool about the GBA Micro, obviously very small, very tiny. It goes back to the nice shoulder button design again. You know, nice big shoulder buttons. They click. But the downside here is no link cable support. So Nintendo made one, but it was only available through their website. And because by the time this thing came out, this was already out for about a year. This model and this model, the Micro, the AGS 101 and the Micro, came out about a year after the DS model came out. So people already moved on to the DS, so it was kind of a forgotten system. Not a lot of people bought this. Not a lot of units sold of the GBA Micro, so to find one today is going to be a way more expensive. I think these go for about 100, 120 bucks or so, depending on the model that you get. And this unit, you know, the GBA SP unit, AGS 101, this thing also sells for about 100 bucks. But again, it's hard to find, you know, the adapters. Whereas, you know, DS Lites, you can find all over the place for pretty cheap. You know, you can probably get one for 30, 40 bucks if you look hard enough. So here, let's do a quick comparison. Let's move this out of the way and this out of the way. So you can see the screen brightness is very nice here. Huge difference on the AGS 101 model. Now there is no option to adjust the brightness. There's no brightness button, I should say, on the Micro version, but it does have its own headphone jack, so that's cool. You don't need any kind of an adapter. The sound button is also on the side here, which is, it kind of clicks when you tap it, you know, upper or lower to increase or decrease the volume. And then you have your power button at the top. This is a casing, little, it's almost like a condom for your cover, for your system here. I like this. I picked this up for super cheap. I just find it's easier to hold, but still your A and B buttons, and then your single speaker here on the bottom. So that's a breakdown of all the GBA models that are out there. Again, the original model, it pretty much sucks, but if you can find a worm light, it's okay. I think it's the most comfortable version to play. The original GBA SP was revolutionary for the time, and the screen's okay, and you can find these for pretty cheap. But again, try and find it with the adapters. You know, this headphone adapter, if at all possible. You can get these on Amazon for pretty cheap, maybe a few bucks, or other websites, nerdy websites like that. But if you can get this model, this is the AGS 101 model. The one thing how to confirm if you have a 101 model is, of course, the screen, but the weight is also different. Now, obviously, you can't see this in the from the video, but what I want to show here is if I kind of push this down, this original model, it pops back up. Let me unplug this. It pops back up at you. You can see that. Whereas this model, if you put it down, it stays down. That's because this screen is the better screen and it's a little bit heavier. So if you kind of compare the two, they're very similar in weight, but you can see this is more top heavy. The screen does want to tilt backwards a little bit more. So sometimes you'll find these systems out there that have this back plate removed, so you can't tell by the serial number or the model number which type of model it is. But if you can't tell because maybe you're scouring the internet and you're looking for models and the owner doesn't know what they have, you can do the tilt test. Right, so this one's kind of slower to pop up. If not, it stays down complete. This one's just a lot lighter. So there you go, the pros and cons of all the GBA models. And then of course there's the Game Boy player, which is on your GameCube. We can play all the Game Boy games that are out there. The one final thing I want to mention is this guy, the Micro, can only play Game Boy Advance games. You cannot play original Game Boy, and you cannot play Game Boy Color games, whereas these units You can play all the different types of Game Boy games on the original models, but that was one feature that was removed for the micro version. So I hope that makes sense. I hope that clears things up for you a little bit. Again, everything takes its own charger. This one, you need an adapter to use your headphones. This one does not, as well as your DS. So if you can't find one of these models, my recommendation is to get one of these, just because they're cheap, even though you can't play multiplayer. But for a lot of people, that's not a selling point anyway. So I hope you like this video. If you want, leave a like, leave a comment below, and let me know how your history with the console is, and if you manage to find one of these AGS models for cheap. Thanks for watching. You can follow me again at mygamer.com.